what do we do? So we've been in business for 9 years as a submersible pump company. Submersible pump is a sector in the large artificial lift business of the oil and gas, pumping oil and other liquids out of wellbores. Small company, 25 people. We have yesterday it closed $30 million market cap with 91 million shares outstanding. Inside ownership is 6.6%, of which I hold almost half of that. The interesting story here on our market cap is we weren't immune from the collapse of the oil price in the fourth quarter. We were holding in the 30-cent range and fell all the way down to 12 cents. But since then, we've recovered all that value back up to the 30-cent range, and this is where the story gets interesting. Our core business is in Gillette, Wyoming, where we have an operation that has grown its market share year over year by 50%. It's generic off-the-shelf submersible pumps, but it generates a positive cash flow out of this business unit, which helps us move on into a new technology that we're developing. This is the old technology. So 30 years ago, when I was just starting in the industry, I worked a lot around pump jacks. They had a lot of problems then, maintenance problems, leaking problems, they make noise, they dot the skyline, everything. 30 years later, nothing's changed. It still dots the skyline, it still leaks oil at surface, and it has one of the highest maintenance rates of any oil field piece of equipment. So we're developing a magnetically driven motor that replaces the motion at surface and creates the motion at the bottom of the hole, removing all moving parts. And so what that's going to do for us, no surface equipment, no noise, no leakage. We've got a reduced footprint, so the oil company doesn't have to have as much land taken up. Very important in the farmland, right? More crop space. It's going to have a higher energy efficient. Pump jacks are really inefficient, changing rotary motion into a reciprocating up and down motion in the wellbore. Whereas we're starting with a reciprocating motion because it's a magnetically driven motor that moves up and down. But the key part of this is there are fleets of service rigs moving from well to well to well, repairing the broken rods that hang in the wellbore. They cycle 3 million times a year. The metal fatigues, they will break, and it's one of the highest cost drivers inside an oil company in producing oil. So a snapshot of the space that we operate in. Mature fields are here. The easy oil is gone. We're all struggling to find ways to squeeze oil out of the rock. 70% of the world's production comes from mature fields right now. Inside those fields, the demands for pumps are great. If you can get a well to flow in Canada for 3 months, you're doing great before you have to throw a pump onto it. Inside there, of these wells, 60% of them need some form of artificial lift. So some way where the reservoir pressure is so low that the oil just won't flow. You got to pump it. This market is projected to grow annually at 9.5% through 2018. So a pretty healthy growth rate. That's just inherent in the business that the wells that were just drilled today, in 3 months or a year, they're going to have a pump on them. Currently, there's 750,000 rod pumps, pump jacks like I showed you, in use in North America alone. That makes up 65% of the artificial lift market in North America. All 750,000 of those suffer some form of problems with mechanical maintenance, inefficiencies, landowners being upset that they're all over the skyline. And there's limits on that technology. The rod pumps today, they're yesterday's solution. Everybody's drilling horizontal wells. 85% of the wells in Canada are drilled horizontal. You can't take that metal rod and bend it around the corner and expect it to survive as you move it back and forth 3 million times a year. Try that with a paper clip and see how far you get. So that equals for us opportunity for this electric submersible reciprocating pump that we are co-developing with a company in China. We have a prototype that's in the ground right now, and where we're focusing on first is the Bakken Formation in southeastern Saskatchewan. We have an oil company partner that is heavily vested in seeing this successful because they have thousands of pump jacks in operation today, and they have a fleet of 34 service rigs just themselves that do nothing but go around and repair broken rods and pieces. The other places that are low-hanging fruit for us are the Viking and the Shaunavon formations. These are all light, shallow, clean, crude, easy to pump, and then would like to move into Alberta and get into the Cardium Formation as well. In the United States, where we already have our existing footprint in Wyoming, there's the Niobrara shale oil, which is a key resource play that's being heavily developed right now. The North Dakota Bakken, of course, is heavily developed and has thousands of pump jacks in use already that are suffering the same fate. The Uinta Basin is an emerging one. We only have an eye on it because our partner up here has a land base down there and they expect us to be there when this works. Mexico, we've had a footprint in Mexico, but more in the pipelining and construction side, which is a business that we're phasing out as we focus strictly on being a pump company and this innovative technology of the magnetic drive motors. But the field in Poza Rica, Pemex has done a study on the Poza Rica field, and there's 788 wells that the pump jacks fail monthly. It's costing them $400,000 US annually to run each well. It's a staggering maintenance cost. So we're pretty sure we can undercut that by a large margin, and the return on investment should be about 6 months. And then the rest of it for however long the motor lasts, which we won't know until we get to that point. Is it 3, 4, 5 years? For them, it's gravy. So where are we now and what's next? I did mention that we have our first of 5 prototypes in the ground. It's being commissioned as we speak. It's turned over now to the people that built the drive, the variable frequency drive and the control panel, getting its language running, understanding, this is over my head as a mechanical engineer, but inside electricity there's noise and feedback, and they're working on filtering that out. When they get that all nailed down, they'll engage the motor and start pumping oil. So that should happen in the next week or 2. That's what we're looking for. In a second generation of development, we learned a lot while building the first 5 prototypes. I'm headed back over with our lead engineer to China on Thursday of next week to finish the designs of the commercial version, of which we'll place some orders and get some over here for implementation with our current partner and with some other oil companies. These will have the capacity to go deeper, probably twice as deep as we are now. We're limited at 1,500 meters, and we think we'll be able to go to 3,000 meters by coupling 2 motors together in tandem. We'll be able to produce more oil. Right now we're probably capped at about 150 barrels a day. We'd like to see that go to about 250 barrels a day. Future products for us to take this same type of motor technology and make it smaller, get into different applications. There's some deep, tight gas wells that build up with fluids. Would like to be able to put this kind of motor into a small well. You probably experienced liquids builds up in the Montney a little bit. We could hopefully have a solution for that. We can also convert this into some surface style pumpings where we could go wider diameter and create almost limitless power in a magnetic thrust. When we're fully commercialized, we're looking to automate the factory. Right now it's very manual in everything that we do, the way the copper motor is wound, the way the magnets are assembled onto the motor. We can automate that, and the factory managers are telling me that we could be able to bring that factory in the near term up to producing 1,000 units per year. So that's our story. I had a video of the motor working, which we unsuccessfully couldn't get running, embedded into the PowerPoint. I do have an iPad at our desk out front with a short clip of us in China at a test facility, and you can see the motor shaft working. And I look forward to any questions out there at the table.